Tasha Yar's team has been challenged to a friendly game of Parisi squares by some of the maintenance personnel. Professor Terrence Epstein is the leading mind in cybernetics, and Riker asks for a bone. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Denise Crosby.
Howdy doody.
What's up?
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and I should have said Epstein. I made a note that it's Epstein, not Epstein. We are doing a review of the Next Generation first season episode 11001001, written by Maurice Hurley and Robert Lewin, directed by Paul Lynch. This was January 30th, 1988. Where were you? And special thanks to our sponsor of the entire first season, Mr. Grandpa One, a.k.a. Tim Baum. How you guys doing?
Oh, so good. Beautiful day in Southern California.
There's so much here, by the way, with these outfits. Just when I pulled this up, I didn't realize it when I was watching the episode. I didn't realize it when I downloaded this image behind me. Everybody just listening in, it's the Parisi squares. They're all dressed up in blue. Somebody's holding this bag, and I just realized from the Star Trek cruise last year, look at this. That can't be a coincidence.
Yeah.
That's the bag.
Oh, they lifted the Parisi square.
Yeah. How cool is that?
That's so cool. God, I didn't even put that together.
Man, I didn't until right when I put this up in front of me. I was like, wait a second. And I ran over and grabbed that. So good on them. And by the way, Denise, you make this outfit look awesome. I can't wait to go find mine at my local hardware store or whatever.
Man, I'm hoping that in some of these costume cons, costume contests at the cons, somebody does some Parisi Square gear, I haven't, I don't think I've ever seen anybody.
I haven't either. That would win.
Oh, that's so cool. That's just a great costume.
Mm-hmm.
I think right off top, I think the Blue Man Group owes you a check. Because that's inspiration right there.
It's all coming together now. Where they got their look, their shtick. Yep.
Okay, we need a costume contest where there's a group dressed up as Parisi squares, and then there's a group cosplaying O'Brien and Bashir playing their version of racquetball.
Oh, yeah.
And
Come on, guys, get creative with these costumes. We need some, we need to get more obscure. The more obscure, the better, They're
getting really good at that. But Denise, before we hit record, you said that you do have a memory of these outfits, but you thought maybe you guys had played or there was a scene or something.
I don't know. I think it's probably wishful thinking. I probably I created Parisi Square, the game in my head. And because I just don't think, I don't know, it seemed like we played, but I guess
Can you explain the rules and tell us how you play the game, Denise?
Well, there's a bunch of squares.
There's gotta be squares.
And
so far, so good.
Okay.
We each get a
matches
square,
up.
and we got to get the other guy off his square.
Okay.
And in those bags contains
more squares.
Well, really fun little square removers, little objects of removal. We each have one, as you see. So we each have our own kind of tools in our bags to get those opponents off their squares.
This is another game you invented, which was American Gladiators.
Yeah.
And that's when they had the two people on the squares with the Q-tips, the giant-sized Q-tips, to try to knock the person off.
Yeah.
That's my version. One. That's what I envision when I think of Parisi squares.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool.
It's a warrior game for sure.
I mean, it's possible that there was more to this in a future episode and I just don't remember it. It's possible that there is, and if that's the case, right now there are people yelling at their screen right now going, "Come on, Ryan, in home soil, obviously her and Worf have a heart-to-heart while they battle it out on Parisi Squares." I don't remember that, but It's possible.
Right. Well, you how much I remember. 0.
You remember these outfits, though.
I do. Yeah. I mean, but again, I'm confusing it because there's a great photo I have. Someone took a still of Worf and I with Riker, and so this outfit is in my mind. It's like it's fresher than a lot I But
okay. It's been memorialized in one of the headshots.
Yeah, it's like sitting on my table at con. No, it actually isn't. I probably should though. Probably should try to get a screenshot of this.
That would be great.
Fun. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it. It's fun, and it reminds me exactly of what you were talking about, Ryan, when you said O'Brien and Bashir and that racquetball type game that they used to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it was mentioned later on. I forgot the episode, but there was a kid. Was it like Riker's kid or something like that? There's a kid that plays Parisi Squares. He gets injured. I mean, he's just in like the outfit, but I don't think we actually see him playing. And then I think Lower Decks mentions it once.
Oh, really?
Or something.
Oh, cool. They're fun with this stuff.
Oh, here it is.
It's
right
actually
here.
It was you should
check it out.
Got it?
Yeah. This guy's right here, and he says, think about Parisi Squares.
Okay. From Lower Decks. Okay. It's
no
actually
stone is left
French.
Unturned with them.
Parisi Squares.
Can I say something that makes me seem like a very French snob?
Say it, because I know what you're going to make. Can I guess?
Yeah, you know.
You're going to go there, right? It was the French, in the French scene in this episode.
Yeah, French is a hard language. It is. It's a difficult language. I only am okay at speaking it because I was raised speaking it as a first language. But I can understand that the pronunciation is difficult. The spelling is difficult. The accent, it's tough. It's not and asking these two obvious non-native speakers. And when I say obvious, I mean the poor lady. She did a wonderful job, and Captain Picard does an excellent job of being very French. However, I was looking at the subtitles at the bottom, and I still couldn't understand what she was saying. I had to listen to it 3 or 4 times. If I didn't have those subtitles, I would have had no clue what was being said as a native French speaker. But that's just me being snobby, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a snobby thing, because I, as a non-native speaker, it sounded great to me.
And also, when their Klingon accent isn't perfect, I get very upset too.
No, but I get what you're saying, because I knew you were going to say that. I was like, oh, what's Ryan going to say about this French? Because I know they're butchering these words. And it's funny because when I go to Ethiopia, my relatives tell me when I'm pronouncing words that I'm pronouncing it wrong. And I swear I'm saying it exactly like they're saying it, right? And they'll make me repeat the same word 15 times. And it gets a little frustrating because you feel like you're saying it the way they're asking you to say it. But there's just certain rolls of the tongue and certain sounds that they're looking for that you have to be there, and you have to just have a lot of practice.
It's also a trained ear. You can't replicate something that you don't really distinguish the difference in.
Right.
Like they're saying something, you're like, that's what I'm saying. And they're like, no, you're saying it different. And you're like, no, I'm saying it just like you. I freaking know it.
Yeah. And at some point it gets frustrating because you're like, this is what I'm hearing. I'm repeating what I'm hearing. And they're like, no, that's not. You got to, and they always break that certain sound. And it's like, all right.
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just like to go there, get one up on you.
Right, right. Which I
So
never do to somebody when they're speaking English with an accent from a foreign country. I'll never make them feel like they're not pronouncing a word properly and say, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
automobile.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
going
right.
to, I'm going to do my
that's
best to
true.
kind of decipher what they're saying and say, oh, okay, no, Wilshire, it's that way. You got to go make that way,
Right.
make a left.
The
Right?
only time I get frustrated with that is if I've been on hold for like 3 hours with AT&T and the person, I can't understand a word they're saying. I might then just go, I'm sorry, can you say that again? Can you say
Yeah.
that again? I just am,
Or
but that's
email
not
it.
that is like my total
Yeah.
level of, I've hit the wall.
Yeah. Right.
Frustration. Yeah.
No, that's when you've been on hold and you hear that elevator music for just way
Yeah.
too long.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
So speaking of
But yeah,
which, we've got this episode here.
yeah.
I was a little, I don't know. This is the first time I think that I don't really have an opinion on an episode. I feel like it was, and I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't really know where I stand on this. There were some interesting parts. There were some parts that I almost drifted off a little bit. Apparently, this is a well-known episode. People like this episode very much, especially for the character Minuet.
Mhm.
Now, she does come back later on in a future episode. So maybe that's why she's so memorable and beloved, is because she comes back in a future episode. I think it's Future Imperfect. So that's cool. That was interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think of this one?
Um,
Same thing. I know you guys are in the same boat right now.
it
You
it
go
was
ahead.
hard to follow for me. Uh, I mean, it was easy to follow, but too easy to follow because it was like, what is the mystery here? And I guess at some point they revealed the mystery was that they were going to that homeworld, but it took too long for it to play out, in my opinion. At some point, I believe at 20 minutes into it, I paused, looked at the time, and said, "Okay, I'm 20 minutes in, and it's slow." I'm just like, come on, get to it already. What's the point? And so I didn't know what the point of the episode was damn near halfway through the episode, and that's where I feel like they were lacking. It could have gotten pushed along a lot further. There could have been an imminent danger to the people, like there was when they finally got to it and they evacuated the ship. All of that could have taken place earlier for me, and that would have raised the stakes a lot earlier. Besides me seeing this very slow, drawn out jazz scene and all of this stuff with this Minuet character, I wasn't buying it. I was like, come on already. So to me, it was just about pace, and the pace was off.
Yeah. It's there's no subtleties here in this episode. It is so obvious from the get-go that these binars with their side glances are
Are up
doing
to no
something.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like in the first shot we see them. Riker is suspicious, tells Wesley to keep an eye on them, which I find already a bit odd that Wesley is put in charge on the bridge. Again, it sets up this kind of Casanova thing with Riker going on. It's so funny for me to watch these. I didn't realize how much they are setting him up as this Romeo, this cad, we've seen this now a number of times where he's just, whether the shirt is open and she's rubbing his chest hair and now he's got this going on and, and great, except I can't wrap my head around the relationship with Troy. what are we supposed to, where are we supposed to stand in this? They've established this connection early in some of these episodes. They're pining for each other. There's a history together. There's obviously, they've set up a romantic link with these two. But whenever we see him away from, she's not in this episode again, which is another interesting point I will make.
Yeah, I wondered about that. And I thought maybe it's got to be because she would know that the Bynars are up to something, and then the whole episode doesn't work. Because I noticed that too. I was like, wait, there's no Troy. And so that's something I could think of.
Episode we're seeing without her, and now it's refreshing my memory, because I just assumed she was in every single episode. Everyone else is. So I don't know if it was contractual. I just can't imagine it not being at this point. But I'm just having difficulty sort of squaring with who Riker is in his personal kind of morality a little. We know he loves his work. We know he's good at his job. He's, loyal but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's troubling with this conflict with. I don't know how I'm supposed to take the relationship at this point.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with you on that. I think that he is kind of playing a stereotypical kind of male character that they had in that time era. I remember that, the kind of the 70s, 80s male kind of Magnum PI type of, guy. And I think that's what he's playing a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the problem is it doesn't fit well for a consistency of character that we rely on and who we want to think of him as a good guy. But in this, he comes off kind of like a horny player.
Well, and remember, this team behind this show right now are the same guys that were doing the original.
Right. And that's why he's the Kirk. Yeah.
And remember Kirk's whole, swagger and his thing with the ladies. So it's
which is fine if he doesn't have Troy there. Right. Which
exactly.
Is literally right next to him half of the day. Right. They spend so much time together, so it's just awkward, and it's a little bit chauvinistic and cheesy. I was a little turned off by the whole, not the redhead. I need a girl, not a blondes or blondes and jazz seldom go together. It was very. I just thought it was chauvinistic. It was like, blondes and jazz don't go together. Okay. And then he's like, I don't want the redhead, something more sultry. And I just like the way he was being so superficial, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought that was a turnoff to me. I was just like, okay, Mr. Superficial, objectifying women. It just doesn't fit well. Especially under the lens of today and how we've seen these kinds of roles change. It just seems so outdated.
Absolutely. You nailed it. I couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it becomes, it's like, ugh, I don't want to see this. Taken right now, watching this in 2023, it's like, oh man. Doesn't and again and once it's like repetitive. It's the same, whatever planet we're on or whatever holodeck we're going to, it's can Riker get it on,
Yeah.
It's like he's kind of like the Bashir character in early seasons of Deep Space Nine, except Bashir did not
Couldn't
get
the
that
girl.
kind of luck. Whereas Riker he shows up and he's like, "Hey, who wants to hump me today, everybody?"
I would just, and then the thing is, what makes him even more shallow is here you are now falling in love with this computer program when these real people that are in front of you, like Troy, you're not pursuing that love.
Right.
But you want to pursue the love of this fantasy in this moment of a program that you know is artificial. And so I just think it's weird and extremely shallow for his character. And it doesn't show him to be as macho and bravado. It actually shows him to be flawed and have a weakness to his character by being so susceptible to any hot chick that meets the profile of his horniness.
That's right. And then you contrast it with, again, the episode where Troy is going to have the arranged marriage and his reaction to all of that,
which I liked. I liked
right.
that, but play that side of him more, where he's into her, that she's, explain that at least. At least explain and say, we can't be together because it didn't end well. So just go and do your thing or whatever. Something. I don't know. There's no explanation.
It doesn't kind of fit in with then when he goes and he's with the one woman last week and now he's with this one on the holodeck and you're kind of going, well, wait a minute, where are you coming from? You had this kind of really extreme reaction with Troy, and were really taken aback by it and hurt and vulnerable, and you felt like you had lost her. But here you are jumping in bed with a couple other women, so it's like, I just, I'm confused by this whole little side business that Riker's got going on. Wow. And
how many seasons? How many seasons do you think it would take for him to start kind of like looking over at Yar, like looking behind him, being like, actually, like on the bridge? Hey, what's up, Yar? Do you think?
I'm kind of thinking
these writers might have written that in, right?
It might have been. Who knows? And it's like, no.
Commander, stay facing the front.
Don't look at me that way.
What if he breaks out the trombone?
The bone? Well, if he breaks out the bone,
there's so many things that we can.
It's negotiable. Let me just say that.
And that was funny that the black guy in this episode who was in the nightclub, he's like, "Yeah, man, the chicks dig you, man. That chick digs you." Like, I'm like, first of all, it would be nice if there were other chicks to choose from, and there's one person in.
Well, that's kind of goes to Denise's point about there. I don't remember exactly the wording you used, but there's very little nuance where everything is very just on the nose. Like Wesley is the smartest guy ever, and that's it. They just tell you that that's what it is, or all the chicks dig you. Like let us figure it out. Let us go. Oh, it seems like all the chicks, we're smart enough to figure it out. We can tell if all the chicks dig them. We don't need to be told.
Yeah, all of the one chick.
Yeah. All of the one.
Yeah.
My favorite line was "Don't quit your day job." Actually, that was my favorite line of the episode.
I know.
That one guy, he was saying what was on my mind, which was this is corny.
Right?
Well, we've got to hop to our break, and there were a lot of things in this episode to me, and every episode I think that feel outdated. It's just going to be like that with hairdos, with writing, with outfits, But there was one thing that was the opposite, where I actually had to stop and make sure I was watching the correct episode, because I was like, there's no way this is 1988. This feels like 2000. Like I literally stopped it to check and make sure. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Stick around. We'll be right back on the seventh rule.